The cyberspace is home to billions of people and is the right platform you need to grow your business. The Center for Innovation and Technology is offering you a golden opportunity to speak directly to your market at an affordable price. We also offer media training workshops, live streaming, documentary production, and events management. Get in touch with us today on the following numbers: +263 867 711 0290 or 0718 100 235. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media platforms. Like our Facebook page, Center for Innovation and Technology. Follow us on Twitter @SiteZW. And you can also check out our website, www.site.org.zw. You can also visit our offices at 45 Moffat Avenue, Hillside, Bulawayo. Take advantage of this opportunity to expand your business.
Sibongile madodana na ugatsheni bayabinyatha indlovu ezadekayo senabelusi ugatsheni umelusi ngivela khona leli bhani
Asikhuliseni Mthwakazi
asikhuliseni Mthwakazi abantu abazazi
abazazi asifuna komunye umuntu
siyazihambela nje senzo wethu
sizomfethu
yayizwa siyabonga
hayi thanks hayi kunjani. Welcome to the program Community Conversations with me, Ishmael Mkandla. Thank you so much for joining us. Today my guest is Mr. Thabo Siziba, who is an advocate for culture, and he's the one man who embarked on a culture walk to Harare to submit a petition to the President of Zimbabwe, President Emmerson Mnangagwa. So we're going to be talking more about the petition as well as the walk and what they encountered along the way and some of the experiences that they're going to be implementing in the future. So join me in the conversation with Mr. Thabo Siziba. Thank you so much, Mr. Siziba, for joining us today for the interview.
Thank you.
My first question is, I would like to find out from you the meaning of the walk. What was symbolized by the walk from Bulawayo to Harare and back to Bulawayo?
Okay, first I'll give you the title of the walk itself before I go into what it meant for the people that were involved and what we expected it to mean to the rest of the community, for which it was hopefully going to involve or to include. The title of the walk itself, it was called Mthwakazi, Mahlabezulu Walk of Freedom. That was the initial title, and that still remains the title of the walk. Mthwakazi, Mahlabezulu Walk of Freedom. The reason why we chose that name, or why I decided to choose Mthwakazi Mahlabezulu Walk of Freedom, whereby abantu abaningi they have asked me or they were asking, within Thabo City, why not our? Because it could have been something that was organized, with the community and stuff like that. And then I said to to Abantu, when I thought of this idea of walking, as much as I knew that eventually it would be something that would relate to a broader, a community, I wanted to keep it as much so that whoever gets involved in the program or in the walk gets involved on a personal capacity. Then they have a relationship to the walk. And I wanted to stay away from something that appears as a protest or as a demonstration, because the idea of the walk was not to challenge the government, as much as I would have a different platform to do that. But the walk itself was not to challenge any authorities, but to talk about or to express my personal freedom as a person on Mthwakazi. My personal freedom, I talk of freedom of expression, as far as my personal identity is concerned. Abantu bakithi, one of the biggest issues that we have now, or one of the biggest problems engizinanzelelayo ukuthi abantu besindebele nor abathwakazi, to say we are not very, very confident with who we are. We are not very, very confident with our identity. And that's one thing that I found ukuthi khona maybe if I could do something that could get people to begin to have to have some confidence, that could encourage confidence around us expressing ubuyithi bethu, ukuzigqaja ngobuyithi bethu, as we say in some of our t-shirts, that would go a long way. And then also freedom from mental slavery. Mental slavery is something that I think, I remember, I ngibala kwenye indawo ku Google, as much as it can have a lot of stuff, where they were talking about, or they were trying to define, or they were defining, I think Wikipedia or something of that sort. They were defining the Mthwakazi nation as probably one of the longest, most enslaved nations in the world. And I found that very fascinating when somebody says one of the most enslaved nations in the world. But then digging deeper into that statement, I found it to actually be true. We have been a nation that has been enslaved for over 100 years by the previous authorities or administrations, whether it is during the colonial era and by the post-era. And to date, if ungakhangela indlela vele abantu bakithi esicabanga ngayo, including myself as well, which is why I engaged in this program, the Walk, with an intention to say I want to declare my freedom from this mental slavery. Uzafika ukuthi abantu bakithi lalamuhla ungathi wenza into esindebeleni, they don't look as sharply or as positively to it as nxa ungathi ngifuna ukwenza into esi-India or as-China. You can go and celebrate any other culture, whether ngesi-Shoneni or ngesi-Colombian. They would join you and they would miss a day at work. But ungathi zenzezokwakithi, they would question you ukuthi ungubani, and then beyond ukuthi ungubani, are you really sure? Is it not a risk? Am I not putting myself at risk? And then from there, we are very accommodative to our detriment to a certain extent in terms of ubuntu bethu, which sometimes sesengafika ukuthi kwakhona ngayena le system esaba subjected to it. You find ukuthi kanengi part of this mental slavery, esibuyo be confident ngokwenza okungokwethu singela ndaba lokuthi omunye ucabangani or what have you. The next thing that somebody would be asking themselves is there anybody else that is involved from a different culture? Because we want to make sure it doesn't appear tribal, because we've been told for many decades when you do something that is exclusive or that identifies the vulnerability or the beauty of the nation of Mthwakazi, you must be tribal.
But doesn't that present another challenge in the sense of let's say we are liberated from the mental slavery, and then we are free now. Doesn't that also present another challenge? We will start to look down upon each other. ukuthi abanye bathi akula mashona phakathi akula mhlobo nje phakathi. Wouldn't it mean ukuthi siyagcina sesisilwa futhi sesisodwa sesingumthwakazi even though sesi-liberated?
See, the beautiful thing about Mthwakazi is that when this nation was founded by ubukhosi bethu obuvela kunkosi uMzilikazi, it is a nation that I think gets its mightiness from its diversity. uMzilikazi wathi ebuthelela isizwe sikaMthwakazi azange athi kube lesizwe esilahle ubuyibo baso or isizwana esilahle ubuyibo baso. That's why today you find ukuthi our nation is probably even bigger than the alternative nation in Zimbabwe in terms of its diversity, not in terms of the individual statistics as ukuthi abantu abangaki for the population statistics wise. So kusizwe sikaMthwakazi you get probably over 13 tribes. Ngamatonga, ngamavenda, ngamakhalanga, you can name it, ngamachewa, ngamanguni, and so forth, throughout the entire region of iMatabele and the Midlands, as it is defined in today's books.
Okay, let's talk
but
about
there's also the race aspect to it too.
Yeah.
Nxa abantu bekhuluma ngeMthwakazi, they forget ukuthi ubuthwakazi also includes a diversity in race too. So uMzilikazi azange agcine ekwakheni isizwe esabantu abamnyama esibizwa ukuthi ngumthwakazi. There was people that came and joined that nation and became part of that nation who today are actually very proud members of the Mthwakazi nation, ngabathwakazi now, including abantu beMashonaland. Not abantu beMashonaland as the region, but abantu abakhuluma isiShona. The Midlands, a good portion of the Midlands, they're talking of abantu abakhuluma isiShona. And who are those people? Abakamambo okuthiwa kudala kwakungenje kubusa uMzilikazi lo mambo. A lot of them identify with the language yesiShona. So the argument, yes, but under Mthwakazi.
Let's talk about the walk itself. Tell us, how did it all start? And lahamba njani on your way to Harare, and what did you do when you got to Harare and you came back?
So ukusuka kwethu lapha sisiya eHarare. Angithi ufuna ukwazi ukuthi sahamba njani from here ko Bulawayo sisiya Harare. Right, sahamba ngenyawo, yes, that's the first thing. Now ubuza from a traditional position engiyaziyo la hamba njani sahamba kuhle sibi. But all in all, it wasn't a journey that was planned step by step in terms of ukuthi sasikwazi ukuthi sizalala ngaphi, sizakudlani as such. Although yes, we did do some logistics to make sure ukuthi initially we are backpacked with the basics esizazifuna in terms of ukudla, and then from there okunye part of the purpose of the walk was to prove ubuntu babantu baseZimbabwe beyond the region and nation of Mthwakazi. And that's when we said, moving from here, going across all the provinces within this country, sizangena sizaphuma eMatabele and singene Midlands, singene Mashonaland, Mashonaland Central, whatever, we check to Kadoma, right up to Harare. All throughout the entire journey, we were going to be exposed to communities of people that we were going to aggressively be talking to, and that we would be expecting to welcome us or to embrace us. Nge-message esihamba ngayo, and basamukele, whether it was going to be at night, sesikhuluma ngendawo zokulala, nothing in terms of sleeping arrangements had been done. Sasikwazi ukuthi sizalala lapho esiphelele khona ngohambo lwethu. And that's how we did our journey in terms of logistics. First 3 days was entirely with our backpacks. Each one had probably 5 to 8 kgs, which proved good luck, guys. So after 3 days, we decided to go to Konakorado. I was going to get a backup vehicle that was going to be just traveling, ahead of us. Is Twalele, basic essentials to even medical aid. So things like that, fagabo detols, fagabo amabandichi, all that stuff, we couldn't backpack all of it. Medication in case we had headaches and stuff like that, we couldn't. So we got a backup vehicle, in case somebody faint amongst us. We have that in place. So that was the logistical, way eyokuhamba, and then besokusiza i-purposefulness of ukuhamba kwethu. Purposefulness was beyond ukufika kwethu eHarare to go and to eventually have an opportunity to present a petition. My biggest, or our biggest, the most important cause of the work was to talk to people and dialogue around, a diversity of culture and ethnicity, which boils down to the different tribes that exist elizweni laseZimbabwe. And by elizweni laseZimbabwe, I'm going beyond just Mthwakazi leMashonaland. And two, to talk to people again, drumming up the awareness around what is Zimbabwe. People are now nervous when they hear Mthwakazi and what have you. They think, okay, it's just some political party that wants to separate the country. Tina, we're going out with a different message that says Mthwakazi has nothing to do with dividing a country. That could be a right that exists for Mthwakazi, leMashonaland. Because remember, anything that happens to Mthwakazi also happens to Mashonaland as well, as regions. And these are two nations that were combined by the white men at some point to create one big farm that they wanted to enjoy in. At some point, we were separate states. But the city ruled by conquest in 1923, we were given no choice. So going around and talking to people, independence yet. These guys went on and passed on a baton stick to the post-independence authorities, which encouraged the idea that Zimbabwe, has got two tribes. And those two tribes, you are either Ndebele or you are Shona. And everything else doesn't make sense, you see. So, but then, going back to the reality of it, Ndebele is not a tribe, which is Mthwakazi. Shona is not a tribe. It's also a humongous nation with its own rights and with its own diversity of tribes and what have you, as much as Ndebele as well. So, when we're in Chekutu, in Katuma and what have you, we're talking to people. One of the questions I remember, one of my videos, where we're actually talking to people on one-to-one, kuma communities, we would say to somebody, and then a lot of people, I'd say probably 95% would be like, you need Shona. And then we're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, fine, I get you. I know where you're coming from.
I wanted to ask you, in one of the reports that I read after the walk, you were quoted as saying the people of Zimbabwe are struggling to differentiate between a tribe and a nation. Yes. And I would like to understand, why do you say so?
Because a nation is the knitting together of the variations of tribe and races. Yeah. That's what we call a nation. There is the Mashonaland nation with its sovereignty and its existence, and there is the Mthwakazi nation with its diversity and with its right to its sovereignty, as it is. Yeah. And the difference between nations and tribes. Tribes are what runs through your blood veins. I am not, Siziba lo, Thabo lo, Mthwakazi bami, as the real fiber of what actually gets me going every day. I've got an identity in the form of a tribe. And that tribe could be Ngowa, it could be Chewa, it could be Kalanga. But that's what really drives specific communities within these nations. And so, and then I say, no. Beyond belonging to the Shona nation or submitting to the Shona nation, who are you really? Because you just submitted to the Shona nation, just as much as you could have just submitted to the Ndebele kingdom or to the Mthwakazi kingdom. Yeah. Who are you really? Okay, all right, ngumZezuru. Or ngumKorekore.
So, I noticed that you faced quite a number of challenges along the walk. You mentioned in case of my ethics, did you have any fears besides Ugukula and anything, maybe political agendas, anything like that?
Personally, my fears were vetted prior to the walk itself. E-walk was never a secret as far back as a year and a half prior to when it happened. The president's office got a letter from me probably 15 months prior to the walk, where my initial communication with them was actually a phone call to speak to them and tell them, good to know, this is what I intend to do. in this, and ngizabuya eZimbabwe ngesikhathi esinje, and I'll be coming to do a walk, and these are the general conditions of the walk. And there was communication in that regard with through the President's office. I was referred to the local embassy, lapha engihlala khona eCanada. I had a dialogue with the local embassy in Canada, where eventually they even asked me to go and see them and have a one-on-one conversation with them, just like I'm speaking to you now. La bebuza ukuthi kanti what's the big deal? What's going on? Mthwakazi lobo ufuna ukukhuluma ngabo, or ama issues la ufuna ukukhuluma ngawo uhamba njani? And I expressed to them exactly njengoba ngikhuluma so, and they understood. And then part of the communication with them was I had indicated to if there is an opportunity, it's not a condition, or it's not a something engathi condition of the walk, I would have been happy to meet the president and talk to him about the issues of concern that I would be working about. And then watholakala ukuthi khona the embassy did what it could by contacting the foreign, the things happened during that 15-month period when you communicate with the government of Zimbabwe around this issue until ngabuya lapha. And when I came here, I did logistically what I should have done, which was to inform, not to ask for permission, but to inform both the Ministry of Home Affairs Ministry. I went to Matema's office, and I went to the national headquarters, the Police Alapa, to go and tell them that my work begins tomorrow. And it's just a piece of information I'm providing. So I expect to be protected. In terms of fear, the message that I was going around with, as I've stated in the beginning, was not a message of challenging anybody. It was a message of stating who I am and what Mthwakazi means to me, and whoever identifies with that meaning. Whether we were 100 or whether it was the entire nation, the truth, does not make enemies. It's just who we are. And Manghamban City saying is Mthwakazi bami. But guess what? She says Zimbabwe, Mthwakazi is within Zimbabwe. And at the same time, as I walk from Matabeleland and Midlands, from Mthwakazi region into Mashonaland, I'm walking also into a region full of people that some of them, the differences that we identify out of emotion today, some of them are also victims to some of the, to those issues. And the very fact of identity and consciousness that exists around but generalize the identity is something that we wanted to break. So the last thing is in terms of the purpose of the walk, I made it very clear that the walk also was done in December and close as possible to a holiday every year in December, which is a Unity Day. Yes, so a Unity Day, Liana, my message as far as how I look at it to the rest of the world was I do not identify it as a Unity Day for me. While it is a very important day, was signed a Unity Accord in 1987, but the truth of the matter to me was that a Unity Day or a Unity Accord had nothing to do as such, the way I look at it and the way I feel, to do with the unity between Mashonaland and Mthwakazi. There was a serious atrocity going on across the country. And Unkomo had a choice of either submitting the entire nation, or the entire, well, not the nation of Mthwakazi, of submitting politically, to ZANU-PF as a political entity that was and remains in power. He had a choice to submit to that entity and hopefully stop the massacres that were happening in to civilians, or remain to hope that somehow something miraculous will happen and abantu bazayekela ukubulawa. And he chose the alternative, which was to submit into the accord and hoping and save the people from the way that he looked at it. With the stories or the opinions after that, whether it actually worked or not, a topic probably for a different day. But that's the way I look at Ilangale Unity Day is in essence to the truth itself. That was a day where we can say it scaled down probably significantly in terms of the actual killings that were happening. So I'd love to remember that on that day. Why not? And then a remembrance, and then a reconciliation as well. Once you once you give yourself an opportunity to look at the day for its real meaning, which is it was a day to remember for ukuthi abantu immediately bahle bastop ukubulawa because kwasokuthaso kulento le eyokuhlangana. And then also now we say, okay, I would rather want to remember it as a day to think about reconciliation and to think about healing. And those are the main, that's to me is what my 22nd of December would be most important for, not for e-unity that would have come out of something else. And then another purpose was also to honor Zipra forces. We're very, very important men and women that sacrificed immensely during the War of Independence, hugely. Some lost their limbs, most importantly those, because they were, in my late 40s or mid 40s, I've hardly ever seen somebody disabled from the war being put in front of the people there who would kangelani the effects of this independence that we enjoy. Not the freedom, but just this independence that we enjoy. Where are those people? And beyond that, they are there within our communities. But where are they? So, kubela abafai, we've got, abantu abachona, Lookout Masugu, Omangena, Omdalunkomo, they are there. We've got many of our fallen heroes. Some died during the struggle itself, and some died post-independence itself. And those people need to be thanked and need to be remembered and need to be honored. Most importantly, the survivors, the seniors that we see today, some of them got a very bad deal beyond independence, where they, instead of being acknowledged for their strength and for their bravery, they were actually victimized and either further dismembered or further incapacitated within communities. So abantu esithi sifuna ukubakhumbula kakhulu Zipra forces, we are children of the Zipra forces. Mthwakazi bona ngwabo, its significance beyond amabutho kaMzilikazi. The next significant army beyond that was the Zipra forces.
Let's look at the catalog. You said you had a catalog of called the government catalog of infringement, and one of the things that is highlighted in the catalog is the issue of the media. That the media is not is looking down upon the artists coming from this side who have actually made it. Some have made it outside the country. Yeah. Isn't social media and the internet now more open for them to actually use those to market themselves and probably make themselves more successful within the country?
Okay, so talking about media in terms of, you're talking about the artists?
Yes, as well as maybe information dissemination.
Okay, yes. When it comes to artists, I remember one of the gentlemen, Esas Hambala, Umaposa, he had done a similar walk, but one way, to Harare. I think, if I'm not wrong, 2014. His concern as an artist was that artists, our Mthwakazi, they do not have a fair platform within which to express their talent or to express their music or their businesses. Within the entire country, Zimbabwe, even within Mthwakazi itself. You go to AMA clubs, Drop and Kates, and I've visited clubs and I've had friends who go frequently to clubs, and they will tell you, when you get into a club, go Bulawayo, and 99% of the time, the music that is played is from Harare, or from Chirezi, or from Chinoi, or from somewhere in Mashonaland. Where are the artists, where are the poets in places where poetry is required, where the writers, and then what amazes me is that when I come to WhatsApp and when I come to Facebook, the amazing music talent that I hear from our WhatsApp groups, it's unbelievable. I was asking my son the other day in City, I don't get it. Now see birthday parties even because people get accustomed to what they're exposed to. Yeah. If and that is the amazing Ndebele representation.
That's all.
But you go to WhatsApp, all of a sudden there's all these young men and young guys and and they're doing crazy what have you music, and so yes. I think we are still, getting up. We are still being dealt an unfair blow in regard to that. People could argue, maybe it's getting better now. It shouldn't be getting better. It should be okay. It should just be fair. Yeah. So that's the whole point. And then expression, with social media, abantu bakithi, yeah, they are trying their best. Yesterday I was speaking to a gentleman over the, ethengisa ama-CDs akhe. I understand why we need award to Benjela Metro last year.
Yes, I've seen the guy before.
Yes. And I was asking him exactly what you just asked me. So how are you feeling around this, the issues of your exposure to the rest of the country? And we are born from the face when you talk to the guy, he's trying his best to make it out there, and he's got a plan, and he's going to survive one way or the other. Survival Mthwakazi. But against guys who come from an area or from a part of the country that you don't need to be an expert or to be an amazing person to actually be on ZBC or to actually be on some newspaper, and one argument that I've always put when it comes to media, like I go to my cousin's homes in Yabavagachela, and the soaps that they're watching are my Indian soapies. You can't even, personally I don't relate, I don't understand what's going on. So they're watching my Indian soapies and they are going crazy about it. And I'm thinking, why? Is it because really those Indian soapies have got so much amazing actors and stuff? Mina ngibakhangele nje mbona abantu vele who are absolutely have no relation to what we do, to our way of life, except with maybe love affair one to the next attract abantu. But we can do the same too. Even better in our own language and within our own cultural significance. Yeah. We have one. But the reason why abantu bagithi sebebhizi ngama Indian soapies is because they've been exposed to it over and over. So even what we may think is not standard, is not good enough. Guess what? If I play for you the same song every day, whether you like it or not, you'll end up liking it. So why are we not doing that? What I'm saying also is media coverage, foreign content versus local content. We can break it down to regional. You can break it down to local, as in communities. I think it should be at least respectably, maybe say 70 to 30%. Why am I going to watch 70% foreign and 30% here? Okay. And that is country-wise. And regionally, why should umuntu Bulawayo or umuntu oselupane be exposed to watching musicians asechipinge all day long? Not because that's what he enjoys, but that's because that's what the radio is playing all day long. Engalaleli musicians aselupane la Bulawayo. Like over and over. Let them play over and over. Until it gets into people's head. People are not wearing it, not because they think it's ancient. It's because it's not accessible. I was talking to a guy, in City. Even the prices are designed for foreigners. But as people are becoming more and more aware of our culture, these are things that should be easily accessible. And when it becomes accessible, make it $5 so that every Mthwakazian can wear it. And when they land here, you should know. Now, part of Zimbabwe, and as far as the media response, that's probably all.
I understand you're also planning another walk this December for 2019. I would like to know the lessons that you learned from the previous walk that you're going to improve on the next walk.
Okay, so I guess the lessons that would have been learned from the previous walk, I think one of the things that I learned is humility amongst our people is, it's amazing. But another thing that I think I learned as well was the amount of wealth that exists within our nation, and also overall within our country as well. Zimbabwe, but within just our nation, which is, Mthwakazi. You walk from here, we walk back from Mbembesi. There is so much memorial sites along the way. The 15 square kilometer peg, okwaliwa khona izimpi ngamabutho ka kaLophengula during the in 1893 wars exists there, but it's as though it's not there. People just drive by and they probably don't even know with Kwakona that place was shedded thousands and thousands of soldiers or warriors that died in spears, British armies with machine guns. So izinto engazifundayo ukuthi probably spread a message even more into our communities. Abantu bakithi sokumele ukuthi baqalise ukuzi-involve. Some of this heritage asozinto okumele ukuthi kwakhona zenziwe i-government yeZimbabwe. Izinto okumele zenziwe ngabathwakazi with their own pride. Young people like yourselves, like maybe like ourselves, seniors, abantu who are capable. There are many people who are incapable. Why should we all pretend we are incapable? There are people out there who are well resourced. I-battle of members ungayibona lapha nentaba zenduna sadlula khona. It's there in our pictures. It looks like some dump site, and there is this monument yakhiwa ngamakhiwa labo befuna ukuthi bazitshengiselele labo side. Less spelling probably less Kwapana, they are all rubbish, some of them. Which you can go and take out that freaking plug and throw it in the garbage and put a proper plug, a spelling is right. Imfula along the way. You look at some of the placards. Because the language that is used there, the spellings that are written there, were written by a white man who is Lapa probably. And it doesn't identify with us. So does it have to remain like that? No, like why protected like his side? So why can't our generation, why can't we fix it? And probably what we lack, is that leadership as well, that is focused on getting our people, on their feet to do some of these things. So easy is interesting, and to know as abathwakazi, focusing on us, there is a lot that we need to really do, and beyond that, speaking in one voice and doing things, as a unit.
Okay. What are some of the activities that you look forward to be doing between now and the next walk?
We have started doing my activities. For instance, when we came back from Iwok Uliana, which was widely supported by you guys and some other medias and so forth, we decided to go to Sizayenza community feedback community feedback event, which would talk to the community about what we experience and so forth. We have been offered, a place, Makosi, for instance, to do such an event and open it to the public, Gulenyama Nkomo and all that stuff that we're going to have people enjoy as much as we can provide. But what we ended up deciding eventually, instead of just going a Makos or and thanks to Babu Kont, amazing support that we got from him as well. Instead of going Emakos and doing something and just opening the gates to anyone who wants to come in and enjoy, some probably the majority without regard or understanding of what this is all about. So I decided, no, we're going to step back a little bit. Let's do the same thing, but this time put a meaning to it that is unique, and go and do this event at a community center for the needy, whether it was a senior as a community center or a children's community center, whether it's an orphanage or a remand center, whatever it is. And then get the community involved with us going to do an event there and see how that works out. So what we did is we changed the event from Emakosi to looking or sourcing for a center that we could, until after talking to several community centers with the concern of, okay, Likumanguti, you're doing this, it's amazing. Okay, please, can you pass by the government first and see what they say? So what I did is I then went with Social Services, Minister of Social Services, and I met the director, Konangali, provincial department. I met the director there. I sat down with him. I told him, listen, this is what I intend to do. This is where we are coming from. And now saying Sesibu phase lay, and this is what we want to do. But the beautiful thing is we want to give back to the community while we do this. And I've identified various community, centers, seniors' homes, as abantwana, that if only one of them could be provided, we could do something amazing for the kids. And thankfully he understood it. And then they gave us IPESI, Children's Home Eluvevengale, to actually go and do an event there. So that event was done at PESI, Eluvevengale, and with the minister's approval. And we went, satata bantwana labana base boys and girls, satata, some of them drove down Etropen with them, and then we walked with them from Etropen, including members of the public that were part of it. Of course, we were restricted in how many people we could get into the center, because obviously for security reasons, abantwana labana, they're vulnerable kids, so you can't just open 1,000 people to go in there. So we were, we agreed on a number of people on our side, outside of the Abavelebe Pagat. To be able to come in with. So by invitation, we got our public included as well. So we walked from the city center to Eluveve, Epesi, and we had an amazing big party with those kids. And that was a program on its own. And then after that, we decided, before we wrap up for now, we're going to do another event. This time I wanted to do a program that would bridge a gap, or that would show a bridging of diversity on racial lines between abathwakazi babantu abamnyama esibanga umsindo ngaba kakhulu, labathwakazi babelungu or ama-China or amakula or whatever it is, And how I was going to do that was I wanted to get the white community from the eastern suburbs, where you find them, involved in what we do. So I went around as well, talking to their centers, until I reached one particular center one particular, it is not a center, but like a townhomes, where they have a facility, a gated facility, seniors. And I talked to the administrators there. I remember walking in Gogeso, and the director said, "Hey, I'm not Cecil John Rhodes." So it was amazing, but we had an amazing conversation with them, and they were excited to be a part of this project. The very Saturday, some protests. No, Mthwakazi 19, Saturday, where we were going to be working with some seniors, and so forth, through the town to their location, and probably incorporate that with our seniors. Our seniors home lapana, are going to hopefully invite some of them to come and mingle with these co-citizens. But we ended up cancelling that one, so we problem there over the past few days. And then what we eventually did after that, we ordered over 60 loaves of bread. Ngagcina sengihamba sengidistributor different homes, Tembisa, Opesi, or Mthunzini weTemba, Lasentembeni, just helping people that would have benefited at a hard time, at a hard moment such as that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Siziba, for coming for the interview. But maybe you might have a few words to say to the Mthwakazi family. What would you like to say?
Yes. So what I would like to say is, the walk branded as such, one of the main things that we are going to be pushing forward very much over the coming few, as we move forward, community development. I'm very much into economic development as well. From a business side, I'm not only a volunteer in the community, I also do business. I'm very much into business and so forth. But community needs to be empowered economically, and I think that's where we are missing it as well, partly for many reasons that we can talk about another day. But we need abantu bagiti to get into business and start making real money, and then take that money and transform it into activities that benefit the communities more than the individuals. And then so kusiza kubathwakazi abangama politicians, we have a serious problem. Yes, we have all these reasons and excuses, as ukuthi konke kwenziwa ngale akwenziwa kithi and what have you, but we've got our own people within these systems. Yes. Whether baku-ZANU or baku-Alliance or baku-ZAP or bangaphi, our people are very selfish. Sometimes you can say but they dance for supper most of the times when they are on the job, and once they get in there, they sleep. And sleeping politicians guess what? Abemashona all day long, they'll promote their region. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you open a company, and one of the biggest complaints around here, you go to, ematebeleni sogcwele amashona, and what have you, what do we do? Khathesi bekulabo crisis, kule protest lay, there was opportunities that lamhlamboni metro sifaka omunye umpikitsho kadulami kuthiwa kwakhona abantu abaprinta ama-t-shirt, they were even selling t-shirts ezibhalwe exactly. So I remember saying to my to my boy ukuthi Zwana, we are sise market lapha and we are buying impuphu at for whatever price we are buying it, because some young guys have decided to seize in the in the opportunity of the aftermath and make money and hopefully go and do a project elsewhere beyond the the situation. Why don't we also jump in? But guess what? Most of those people abazabe khona lapha bengabakhuluma isishona, whether ngabe mashona nendo ngaba Mthwakazi asiwazi kodwa babekhuluma isishona. And the thing is, if they are smart, who am I to say they shouldn't sell?
Yeah.
Or they shouldn't do business? Abafana bakithi abancane lamantombazana, labantu bakithi in general, needs to start doing more than complain. And our politicians needs to start representing. If you are within ZANU, can you start making noise about your own region and stop saying good kona this and that? Would rather at least uwele evidence ekhanya ukuthi uyazi ukuthi uzibani kumbe ngusithembiso nyoni kumbe ngoncube kumbe ngobani omakhuphe kumbe ngobani. We would rather kube ukuthi khona what, you see these amazing figures within Mthwakazi community representing and fighting for the restoration of their own nation in terms of infrastructure, in terms of culture, in terms of the economic empowerment, in terms of everything, than ukubona bethule bonke begijimela ukuyathatha imkolo yabe elokhuzeni Harare. Imgwaqo yenkayi, the last time it was fixed, that road looks like a mine itself. The last time it was fixed was ngesikhathi Smith. But to imagine ukuthi there is an MP there is a councillor there, and I wouldn't blame ukuthi khona ngithi mina iMashonaland ithe. What about iMathebeleland? Why can't they then come to form a force and somehow get beyond their pride and foolishness and just form a force and say, we are going to work within this party Siguyi ZANU, or within this party Siguyi MTC, and fight for what the resuscitation of our own heritage, because it is a birthright heritage, and fight for that. You go to some suburbs, even hillside, some of the roads looks like and you're like, okay, for sure this road was last done probably ngesikhathi Smith. So maybe amakiwa right pretend we clip city we should recolonize Zimbabwe again. Maybe they need to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siziba.
Thank you.
You have been watching Community Conversations with me, Ishmael Mkandla. Thank you once again for joining us on the program. Till we meet again on yet another conversation on the program. It's goodbye for now.